Hey, welcome to Caritas Querens. I'd like to share with you something that was going through my mind recently. A Just sort of a speculative vision, not a real vision. I'm not claiming that I had any kind of supernatural vision from God or anything like that, but just something I was thinking about in my imagination. So I was imagining that someday when I die, I am traveling upward, traveling up to be with God, and at that point, my life on earth, I had committed so many sins, so many imperfections still remaining in me, so many things I neglected to do that spiritually, I'm like a paraplegic. I can barely move. I'm just all out of joint, you know, and so I'm struggling so much to get up there to my heavenly Father. And as I go, suddenly I look up and I see a man, and this man is sitting down and he's painting. And I look at his painting, and in the painting there is it's a portrait of another man who is so beautiful, the most beautiful man I've ever seen. And this man, his heart is opened up, and into his heart are just crowding millions, billions of people of all races, of both sexes, tall, short, old, young, all kinds of people. And the one thing they have in common is that they are all in some way weak. Some are ill or infirm, some are wounded, some are sick. And the expression on this man's face, the man in the painting, is one of great joy and love. And also the expression of the painter, the man who's painting this, same thing, an expression of great love and joy. And as I'm looking at his painting, just pausing for a moment, suddenly he spots me, and he drops his paintbrush and his palette, and he just jumps up and rushes over, and he looks at me in the eyes with this look of love and sympathy, and he says to me, "My good sir, it would be an honor if I could help you." And I'm just so worn out, I say, "Sure, go ahead." And I'm expecting he's just going to take my hand and lift me up and kind of, get under get his shoulder under my arm or something like that. But he just takes me and he just lifts me up in his arms and carries me like a little baby. And as he's carrying me along, I say to him, "Thank you so much. This is so helpful. You see, I've made such a mess of my life on Earth that it's just been such a pain to come up here, and I can't wait until I get to the Heavenly Father, and I'm fully in His presence, and He will heal me and make me whole. I know that." And the man says, oh yes, He works wonders. He has done such wonders for me." And I say, "So what is your name? You look kind of vaguely familiar." And he says, "Oh, my name? My name is Judah." I say, "Oh, Judah. Yes, that's the name of one of the patriarchs from the Old Testament. That's the name from which we get the word Jew, for for God's chosen people." And he says, "Yes." He says, "In fact, I was named after the patriarch Judah." I say, "Oh, really?" He says, "Yes, my father gave me that name." I say, "Oh, that's wonderful." He said, "Yes, my father, you see, he wanted me to be like the patriarch Judah. He was the one from whom the rulers of Israel were to come, and he always intended me to be a great ruler. You see, he intended me to be a ruler like Judah of old, who helped his brother when he was in need. That's what true leadership looks like, serving those who are most in need. And why, in my life on earth, I failed him miserably. I perverted the nature he gave me, the mission he gave me, the name he intended to give me. And rather than helping all of those who are downtrodden and oppressed and hurt, I contributed to their suffering. Oh, how much I contributed. But nevertheless, he, my Father, he loved me with an everlasting love. He loved me relentlessly. He never gave up on me. I was a lost sheep. Oh, I was so lost. He sought for me so long, and I kept evading him but I could not evade him forever, because he sought until he found me. And he did, and he did. And he brought me home, some wretched prodigal son. He brought me home to my father. He brought me home to himself. And he gave me this new name. And now I am the person he intended me to be from the very beginning. Oh, I perverted that. I wreaked havoc on the person he wanted me to be, but now, finally, I am the person he intended me to be. And now I have such great joy in serving all those in need, all of those who are injured, who are ill, who are infirm, who are sick, who in any way are oppressed or downtrodden, hurt or suffering. Oh, now finally, I get to do what he wanted me to do all along from the very beginning. And it is such a joy. And as he's saying this, I can't help but notice in his face something that looks so familiar. And I say, you just look so familiar. did, did I know you while I was on earth? And he says, oh, no, I'm sure you didn't. I lived and died well before your time. But you probably had heard of me. I say, Judah, I don't know that I ever knew anybody named Judah aside from the Old Testament patriarch. And and then there was Judah Maccabeus, and I guess the apostle Judas was named that, and Jude. And he says, no, not that far back. I lived only about a generation or two before you. Oh, but you see, I keep forgetting, he says. I wasn't known by the name Judah back then. Oh, I say, well, what was your name? He said, you see, that was before my father reclaimed me and restored me and reconciled me to himself. That's before my father set me straight. That's before he gave me a new name. You see, my name back then was Adolf Hitler. And I just stare at him wide-eyed and I say, but you. And he looks at me with this look of such sympathy that at first the alarm and the shock that I receive at realizing that I am in the hands of one of the greatest genocidal monsters of history, it quickly fades. His look of love disarms me, and he says, do not be afraid, do not worry. I will do you no harm. No, I have harmed so many, countless people. But now, he has filled my heart with love, my Heavenly Father. And I would gladly die a million times for him and for even the least of his brothers, for the least of his own people. Don't worry, I will not hurt you. And I am relieved and just rest in his arms. And he says, no, you see, who I once was, I am no longer. I have been crucified with Christ. And yet I live, but not I. Christ lives in me now. And the life that I live by the faith of the Son of God. And so it is that he has given me this new name, Judah, the name he intended me to have all along. And I live now the mission that he intended me to have all along, the life he intended me to have all along. Adolf Hitler has died. Now I am Judah, and I live in him, and he lives in me. He says, if you want to hear the whole story, we're almost at the Heavenly Father. So I'm going to put you down and let him heal you now. But if you want to hear the whole story, I wrote a book when I was on Earth. It was called Mein Kampf, which means my struggle. And, since my change of heart, I have revised it. And there's an updated edition, and you can get it at the Heavenly Bookstore, by the way. And it still talks about my struggle, but so much more. The perspective is all different. So much more about his love, about the love of my Heavenly Father that never, ever forgot me and that never gave up on me until I was reconciled and in full union with him. And so now I've changed the name from Mein Kampf to Seine Liebe, his love. That is the true story. That is the true story of my life. Thank you for listening and allowing me to share it. Now, as I said, this is not any kind of supernatural vision, just something I just kind of had in my own imagination thinking about. Because, I was thinking one of the common accusations that people bring up against universalism is typically people will say, "But what about Hitler?" Right? Or they'll name maybe some other person who's committed atrocious evils and say, "What about them? I mean, how could they be in heaven?" So I just wanted to kind of ponder on that a little bit and consider that yes, yes, as a universalist, I believe that all, even Hitler, will be in heaven, and yet it will not be the Hitler we knew on Earth. That person was a kind of aberration or perversion of who God intended him to be. That God will give him a new heart and a new name, just as I believe he has done for me. I believe as a Christian that he has given me a new heart and that I have been crucified with Christ. And so why should I not believe that he could do the same for him? So just some musings, just some thoughts about that and about what it might look like in heaven to meet some of those people on earth who we thought could never, ever get to heaven. So as always, if you found this useful or helpful at all, I'd appreciate if you would like and subscribe, share with others you think might enjoy it. And as always, feel free to put any feedback, any comments down below. Until next time, adios.